All right, just to start this off weird for whatever reason, a lot of people don't know this. I record this in the dark, and I just realized how weird that is because obviously this is an audio only experience. If I never would have mentioned this, you never would have known this. And I don't know. I wanted to start off being honest. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the TapStream podcast. This is episode 9. We're tuning in here. If this is your first time listening, this is a podcast that is a weekly update on what I do. If you don't know who I am, I'm Trey from the TapStream. I stream on Mixer where we play video games, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Usually the format of the show is me talking about what I've been playing, what I've been watching, and any other kind of extraneous updates on the stream. This week we're going to go ahead and jump into what I've been playing because I've actually got a pretty hefty list, and I am excited about that. If you've been listening to the previous episodes, I have been discussing my time with Twilight Princess. It was my first time playing it. We started it back in December, and I finally finished it this past Tuesday. And it was a really fun experience. I've talked about it before where there are some points in games where I have reached my fill. And I hate how that has a bit of a negative connotation because it just seems like, oh, I'm ready for it to be done. It's more of a positive feeling. Like, I had already gotten everything that I wanted to get out of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and I was more than happy for it to finish. And it did. It wrapped up precisely when I needed to, and that's a really hard mark for games to land. And so that was cool to see that happened. I don't know where it would fall. Let me try and think of that. Where would it fall if I ranked my Zeldas? Right now, Breath of the Wild still number 1. After that, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker, which I feel like that is the vanilla list order, but that's me. That's on brand. Yeah, I don't know how much I can say that I haven't been talked about in the other ones. I just wanted to make sure that I did put a bow on it, let you know that I did finish it, and it was a fun time. Another thing that I finally got a chance to play, which has been out for a while, and I'm surprised it took me this long to get to it, but it's the final DLC for Spider-Man on the PS4. If for those who didn't know, it was an expansion and that was broken up into 3 parts, released over 3 months, and the third one released in December, and I finally got a chance to play it. And I'm struggling to ultimately, I don't want to be overly negative, but I feel the DLCs of Spider-Man definitely tread in the too much of a good thing category. If anybody would ask me during the stream, I would say any excuse to play Spider-Man is a good excuse. And I stand by that because the mechanics themselves are fun. But it honestly felt like a lot of the challenge in the DLC was them just throwing enemies at you. For example, I can't remember if it was a new type or if it was just a beefed up type of the normal campaign games, but a lot of the machine gunnery guys, the huge hefty dudes, I felt like I just kept throwing myself against the wall of their annoyingness. And it never felt fun challenging. It felt stressful challenging, and so that honestly kind of mars it a bit. The story was fine. I think anytime something is told episodically, I don't focus on it as much as I would normally do in a campaign that is a lot more focused and directed. And even on top of that, the one memorable part of the Spider-Man PS4 DLC is something that was it was a side quest, and if I would have missed it, I would have been really upset by that because it was such a prominent moment that has future characters, and God, this is so hard trying to stay away from spoilers. Regardless, it had implications for a certain character that has gone off the rails. For those in the know, you know who I'm talking about. And I would have been so sad to have missed that because it's a huge character, and to be left on that cliffhanger was a satisfying moment. But again, going back to the lack of focus, I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, but that's that. I did finally get to use the Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit, which I feel bad. Like, I never want to say that I was in the crowd of wanting it because they had created such a horrible name for themselves that I didn't want to be associated with it, but I legitimately like the Sam Raimi suit a lot. So I'm not happy with the way the internet reacted to it, quote unquote, not being in the game and then revealed to be a surprise suit. But I am happy that I am getting to finally use it. I have been using the Stark suit for, I would say, 90% of my gameplay, and only when I'm forced to use something else due to the narrative of the story. I had been using the Stark suit. The Raimi suit was the first one to kind of like break me away from that, and honestly it just has a lot to do with touching on the nostalgia nerves that I had grown up with, because the Tobey Maguire movies were the Spider-Man movies that I associated with for the longest time. Like, I still remember being a kid and excited and jumping up and down when I first saw the trailer for those. So it was really cool to see that brought to the game world. And even more so that suit is essentially the suit that was in the Spider-Man 2 original Xbox game. So it just made it feel like I was playing that game, but better. I don't know. Overall, I'm happy with the experience. I don't regret buying the expansion pass for the Spider-Man DLC, but I will say that it definitely treads on the too much of a good thing territory. And especially, like, God, the first one, I did a lot of the side quests. I made it a point to kind of clear out the crimes, well, I didn't do all of it, but I did. Who is that side boss? I just had him. It's not Slingshot. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. This is so professional. Spider-Man side boss streamer. Who is it? I know, just by saying that, I know you are already knowing who I'm talking about. Sorry, hold on. It's the person that streams themselves. Totally doing dead air. This is professional. Oh my God, they're giving Screwball. Thank you. Okay, so Screwball was the character. I did not like that character in the base game. So to see that a majority of the side stuff in the DLC centered around them was not fun. Again, I don't know if maybe I'm being overly critical because I'm a streamer. Screwball is a parody of what I guess the original creator of that character believed streamers to be, or those people that are very media focused. And so it just feels like it's a mirror that looking into a mirror that doesn't like me. And I get it's supposed to be exaggerated and over the top. It's just uncomfortable to play in a stream experience, like hearing that character present themselves. Again, I'm totally okay recognizing that that's a hang up on me, but it just still didn't make it comfortable. And not to mention, like, I didn't like the base mechanic of their tasks. And the best I can describe it is Screwball would give you these certain challenge areas you could go to, or you would have to complete tasks in a certain amount of time to earn points, and then you get ranked that way. The thing with Screwball, though, is since they were quote unquote streaming that event, you would have to complete those tasks in a certain moving target. And if you did not complete those tasks in that moving target, then it did not count. And so I just did not find any fun in that kind of gameplay. And it could have changed because I only tried it in the first game, the first DLC. I didn't feel compelled to keep doing that in DLC 2 and 3. And I don't know. I wish there would have been more than that for me to tackle on. Maybe there was, maybe I just didn't pay enough attention, but I was pushed away from that. And it was funny. I remember I made a comment because whenever you load up the Spider-Man PS4 UI, it'll tell you the percentage for the base game, the first DLC, second DLC, and third DLC. And you could see like I had like 96, 90, 70, and I don't even know how worse it got because I had just kind of given up on doing any of that other stuff. So yeah, there are rumors. Don't know. That there will be more. I was under the impression that the 3 expansion pieces were all we were going to get before they probably hunkered down and started working on a sequel. But last I heard on the Twitter grapevine is that they have been teasing some Fantastic Four content. Now, that could be as simple as just updating a Spider-Man suit. That could be as simple as maybe having some Easter eggs because the game is already chock full of Easter eggs. Or it could be downloadable narrative expansion. We don't know yet. There's no confirmation. The only thing I remember was, I think it was Game Studios or something. It was a Marvel gaming related official Twitter account that teased a Spider-Man Fantastic Four update, and it was supposed to happen the next day of that post, and I kept my eyes to it and I never saw anything. So I don't know if I missed it or if there's just some behind the scenes stuff going on, but I don't know. I want it. And so that's about it. That's all I have to say for Spider-Man. The other game that I got to play was a game called Gris, which is an indie game spelled Gris. It is the Spanish pronunciation of Gris. And it's this indie game that's very, very simplistic in the way that it tells its story. It's more visual based than any dialogue or audio. And you play as this woman protagonist who awakes with her voice missing. And that pretty much is where it drops here. And you can tell it's a very heavy game because they are defeated and they are making their way across this, I don't even know how you would describe, I want to say post-apocalyptic, but it's just this dreamlike state that comes to life the more that you progress and you interact with it and you confront, how do I want to describe it? You confront beings for what I interpreted as manifestations of your own fear, your own doubts, and your mortality. At least that's the way I took it. I lean more because I've read into some analysis of what the game is. The thing that hit me the most, and I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but the thing that hit me the most is that it almost felt like this main character was fighting against their mortality and accepting it. And so that God dang, it's so hard not to talk about spoilers. The way that unfolds itself across the game, and again, simply told, it's left to interpretation, but done so in a way that once you finally finish the experience, it is breathtaking. And I ended up stopping the stream earlier when I finally finished it because it's a short game. I beat it in like 4 hours, and I normally stream for 5. Maybe it was 4.5 hours, so it was probably only 30 minutes early. So yeah, I beat it, and I just kind of sat there, and I don't want to say empty. That's not the right word. I just felt overwhelmed with emotions and trying to process what I had just seen, and to the point where my chat was like, okay, you could just like call it here. That's a lot to take in. And plus, I didn't know where to go from there. Like, there was nothing that I wanted to stream after that because it was such a moving experience that I just wanted to ponder over it in a dark area, kind of like this recording session. So yeah, I cannot recommend Gris enough. It is a wonderful experience, and it's such a short experience that you can do in one sitting that it's almost like, yeah, like there's no question. Just try this game and see if it's for you. I know I hate the term walking simulator, and I'm not even going to pretend like this is a walking simulator. I hate the term walking simulator because I think it's disingenuous, but it is a game that I think the narrative experience is more front and center than actual gameplay. The gameplay itself is not hard. There are some puzzles. They're not challenging. Again, a special case for me, since I do stream, there were times where I got distracted by chat and wasn't paying attention, but even still, I was able to do the puzzles no problem, and I think you can too. It is much more about the experience of Gris than it is the challenge. So if that sounds interesting to you, any inkling of that sounds interesting to you, I cannot recommend this game enough. It is available on the Nintendo Switch and Steam, and you should play it. Finally, on the what I've been playing list, I do want to go ahead and make a quick update. We've been talking about Mega Man 11 every now and then. It's become this backup game that I've been playing. And it is my first Mega Man game that I've actually put in a significant amount of time. I've played some of the Mega Man Legacy Collection, but it was just way too hard, and I ended up bailing on it. And so I don't know where I thought I could do Mega Man 11, but we did. So I mentioned that we beat Twilight Princess. That was on Tuesday, and whenever we finished that, I still had a significant amount of time left on stream, so I loaded up Mega Man 11. I've been working on the first boss, Blockman, for about a week and a half, maybe longer, and I kept getting close, but I had not made it to the final boss. Tuesday night, I ended up making it to the final boss, and I got him down to his, because the fight is broken up into 3 stages, and I had got him down to his 3rd stage, and he beat me, and I was just like depleted. Like, I had worked so hard to get to that point, because it is a grind. Like, a lot of the way Mega Man 11 functions is that it throws a lot of you at once. So almost in a death is your teacher kind of way, you just make small progress, remember, and learn through repetition of death. So getting to the final boss and learning everything I needed to know and thinking that I had it in the bag and having that like pulled out from under me, it kind of destroyed me on Tuesday. And so that following Wednesday, whenever we went to go play Spider-Man DLC and beat that, I loaded up Mega Man 11 again, and I was able to beat the boss. And that feeling, that winding up of frustration, and then the cathartic release of finally beating the boss was astounding. I'm in love with Mega Man 11, if you can't tell. I will not make any concessions. It is hard. It is a very difficult game, but if you are the kind that likes like Dark Souls, Cuphead, Super Meat Boy, these challenging experiences, you owe it to yourself to play Mega Man 11. I'm a newcomer to Mega Man in general, but my god, I want more. I kind of wish I would have bought this game, because I got this through GameFly. If I keep it any longer, then I could have paid for it fully than what I've been paying my membership. So I might have to send that back soon. But regardless, I've been having fun with it for now. So yeah, that should be wrapping up the what I've been playing section. Again, if you know me, you know that I'm a streamer on Mixer. Just kind of a bit of a preview. This drops Monday, the 28th. So the 29th, we're going to be starting a new stream week, which will be Super Meat Boy. I have played this game before, but I've never given it like serious dedicated time. So we're going to see, what it's like if I can finally beat it. I've pronounced myself as a bit of a platformer expert, so we're going to put that to the test and see if I can finally beat this game. That'll be on Tuesday and Thursday. Wednesday is our monthly community night, where we'll be playing a game called Light Bearers and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's going to be interesting. This is the first community night we've done since I've been streaming for 5 hours. So I'm actually going to front load the stream with some solo play, just to give people time to get off work and kind of get a feel for who will or won't be available to do community night games. If you're new to streaming, essentially what it is community nights are where I will invite the chat to come play with me. We'll play multiplayer games like Mario Kart and Light Bearers, but the hang up is if nobody's there to play, then you kind of got nothing to do. And so I've always been very anxious about doing this, but my community is so amazing that they show up all the time and play and make it a worthwhile experience. But since this is a new time slot, I wanted to test the waters a bit. Maybe we can get to a point where I do feel comfortable starting off with multiplayer games from the get-go. But until then, I'm just going to kill time to when our normal old schedule community night would have been, just to see. We'll play it by ear. If people show up early enough, we can do some games. But it'll be a learning experience nonetheless. Okay, that's it for video games. We're going to jump into what I've been watching / reading. I actually have a, / reading. I kind of put the cart before the horse on that one. What I've been watching is a very limited one, but I wanted to make note of it because I thought it was an interesting concept that I've heard a lot about, but I have yet to actually watch a whole series. It's called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, the Jerry Seinfeld show where he interviews comedians and just kind of talks them through their life. And it was a really fun show. I watched the Zach Galifianakis episode, and they got into the subjects about what privacy means for somebody of celebrity status. And it was just a very interesting conversation. It was I hate to use the word chill. It was a chill conversation between Jerry Seinfeld and Zach Galifianakis, and I was sold on the show. I've only ever seen that one episode. I might try and make it a point to watch more. I've got nothing to say, so I'm going to move to the next thing. Like I said, this is normally what I do, what I've been watching, but I haven't watched too much. I have been reading, which is one of my New Year resolutions, and I wanted to talk a little bit about those. At the tail end of last year, DearChristopher, if you're familiar with the stream, recommended an author by the name of Seth Godin. He is a brilliant marketer. and he just is elaborate. No, that's not the word I want to use. Come on. Eloquent. He's eloquent in the way that he puts forth his thoughts. And I have been reading his blogs, which I think he does daily. He just posts them, and they're just insightful pieces. And I've listened to a podcast with him on it with the Tim Ferriss Show, and I have finally read a couple books by him. I've technically read 3, but that was last year, so I'm going to focus on this year. The 2 books that I read by him are called Purple Cow and The Dip. Again, Seth Godin, Sethgodin. And they've been kind of the North Star for how I've been directing my stream over the, over the first month of 2019. God, is it still? Wow, it feels like it's been so long. It's only January. Never mind. Regardless, Purple Cow. Essentially, the premise of the Purple Cow is, when you're young and you pass by, a bunch of grazing cows on the side of the road, and it's just remarkable, and it's awesome as a kid because you're learning what's new, and it's entertaining to see these cows. And as you grow up, you've passed those cows a million times. They're no longer remarkable. They're just kind of there. You're used to them, and they're boring. Now, Purple Cow, if you saw a purple cow, that would be new. That would be remarkable. You would want to talk about it. You would want to share it with people. So that's where the name comes from, because he talks about positioning and finding ways to do things differently and to really evaluate your process and see what you've kind of stagnated in and find ways to just stand out. To put it in context of what I've been doing, I would argue that me moving from Twitch to Mixer is my Purple Cow. Everybody knows what Twitch is. Everybody knows what a streamer is over there. Everybody knows the norm for Twitch. Me moving to Mixer not only gets to shake things up among the people who were familiar with me on Twitch, it also gives me a chance to stick out over on Mixer as well, who is still growing. So it's that kind of thinking about positioning that has been really insightful for me. And I can't, for anybody that's making content creating, let me restart that. For anybody that's making content online or content creators, you need to be paying attention to Seth Godin. I cannot recommend this guy enough. It will help you start to figure out what you're doing and how to be more purposeful with the things that you make. And to go hand in hand, the second book is called The Dip, and it is essentially about knowing when to give up and knowing when to persevere. I don't know how I feel about this one too much. It was a bit of a shorter read, and I think a lot of it was kind of, like common sense. I hate to say that, but I mean, it was just basically like learning to distinguish between when to give up on something that's not working and when to continue persevering on things that have a dip. For, again, the title of the book, for example, what he refers to as the dip is the time from beginner's luck, where you start off on this peak, everything's going great, you've had success, that's beginner's luck, and then you fall into this dip where you're learning and finding ways to break through to the other side of this trough where you would call yourself an expert. Now, the different things have various dips that you need to get through, and the larger the dip, the more rewarding the other side is. And that's purposeful, because you want to weed out people that aren't built for the expert side. I hope I'm making sense here. For example, to become a lawyer, the bar exam is incredibly difficult because they want to weed out all the people that say they want to be lawyers, but maybe they're not putting in the effort and the time and the hard work that people who actually go on to become lawyers are. So recognizing when you're in a dip, and if you're capable of withstanding all those tribulations, wow, that's too strong of a word for that, but we're going to go with it. Recognizing when you just need to stand your ground and keep persevering it was a good book. It was a good read. I think it was a little bit too short and too simple on the common sense side, but regardless, I think it's still a fun read. So do it. God, I think I contradicted myself 5 times. Podcasting is hard. So I've read 2 books, and my goal was to read 8 books for the year. So we're doing pretty good. The next book that I'm thinking I'm going to read, because again, that was recommended to me by DearChristopher, Chris, my good friend. He sent me 3 more books, 2 by Seth Godin and another by another person. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but I'll be checking those out at some point. But for now, I think I'm going to actually do a bit of a different read. It is Dune. Dune has a upcoming movie by, and I purposely Googled this name because I know I've been getting it wrong and I want to pronounce it correctly, Denis Villeneuve. I know I butchered that. Essentially the person who did Blade Runner 2049. God dang it, I'm going to Google this. I'm sorry, Steven. I get it wrong. Okay. Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, Prison. If I was hard pressed to give an answer for who my favorite director is right now, it would be Denis Villeneuve. This dude is amazing. Arrival is one of the best sci-fi movies that I have seen in years. Blade Runner 2049 was just a breathtaking experience. It was a slow burn, but I like those kinds of movies. I don't know. If you have not seen any of those movies I listed, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, and Prison, do yourself a favor, catch up on this guy. You'll not be disappointed. And given that, I am excited that his next movie is Dune. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. I normally watch the movies first, but I think it might be fun to kind of read the book first and see how things come to fruition. So yeah, that'll be what I've been doing as far as like entertainment of reading and watching. Just to give, no, not just to give, that's a bad way to introduce this. Finally, I recently took a trip to go hang out with DearChristopher and Chelsea, two good friends of mine that I've known for a really long time. You know, we, again, trying to be careful here because I don't want to give away locations, even though I think they're okay with it. But I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm not going to give too many specific locations. Essentially, we got together this weekend. They're a bit of a drive away from me, 2 hours to be exact. We got to catch up, hang out, and visit some places, and they were incredibly kind and gave me a Christmas/birthday/stream anniversary gift, which was this custom-designed Xbox One controller that mirrored the colors of TheTapStream, which is the blue and white. And on top of that, they custom created a skin to place on the front of the controller that was made up of various iconography of TheTapStream. Is that putting too much importance on myself? Essentially like community art that has been brought forward from the time that I started streaming until recently. And it's a time capsule. And I honestly wanted to cry when I opened it because it was a surreal experience to see 3 years of work distilled into a nice little memento. And I don't know, I posted it on all my social media. I'll be sure to link it in the description of the podcast you're listening to. So if you want to see it, you can do that. Just go to the info and you'll probably find a link. If you're listening to it on the website, I'll post it on the website, on the podcast episode link, so you can see it there. It was beautiful, and it really meant the world to me to see that thing. And so yeah, that was a hell of a way to start off the weekend. From there, we just went out and they showed me around a couple places. We visited like different shops that had like knickknacks and kind of cool art from all over the world. We went to one shop that had salvaged boat wreckage, and it was really cool to kind of go around and look at the different parts and see honestly the scale of some of these equipment. Like they had like what's it called? Why am I gonna bail on this? Like they're just giant lights. What are they called on boats? I'm sounding like an idiot. I'm gonna move forward. So we went there. They took me to like this candy/bakery where they were like making all sorts of sweets and goodies, and they actually had a display where there was a person who was making taffy. Like he had a huge mass of saltwater taffy, and he was kind of like folding it and pressing it and stretching it out, and then he ran it through this machine that stretched it and aired it out even more, and he would like put it into this machine that would individually wrap it and cut it off, and he was chunking it into the crowd, and it was an experience. Like it was really cool, and then the taffy tasted amazing. I don't know, I had fun with that, and then it got a little bit late, so we were waiting and killing time till a scheduled escape room that we were going to go to. And they took me to this hotel that was supposedly haunted. Apparently where we are, this is an area that is known for being filled with haunted stories, and so it was kind of cool to kind of get a glimpse at one of them, to the point that they went and they showed me a picture that was hanging in one of the hotel lobbies, and Chris pointed it out to me and said, "Hey, look at this photo. Does it look like anything to you?" And at first I didn't notice it, and then he told me to focus on the door, and when I looked, you could see what looked like a visage of a human form. Now, again, I will link to it in the description if you want to see it. It was really creepy, but cool at the same time. It makes me want to, if you two are listening, go on some haunted hotel tours the next time we get together. But yeah, I thought that was of noteworthy. And then we ended the night by doing an escape room, which I am slowly becoming addicted to. If you've never done one, obviously they lock you in a room and they give you a set of tasks to complete in a certain amount of time to see if you can escape the room. Different rooms have varying degrees of difficulty. The one that we did centered around this illegal casino that was very famous for being a very long building that took so long to get through that by the time the police arrived and got to the back of the building where the gambling was held, the people in the back were notified before the police raids. So the way that our particular escape room was set up was that we had to escape the room before the police raids came in, and we did not succeed, which I think we would have. There was a series of puzzles that we had to do. We got to the second to last puzzle, and we messed up. We were reading the code wrong, so we were doomed from the start. But it sounded like if we were able to get past that, the final puzzle wasn't set correctly. So even if we would have been able to get past the one we got stuck on, we would have ran out of time anyway. So I'm not horribly upset about it. I thought we did incredibly well for unknowingly taking their hardest room. And I don't know, we kicked ass. There were so many puzzles that I don't want to spoil, which again, if you don't know which one we're going to, so it doesn't really matter, but they were intricate. They were very intricate puzzles, and you felt like a genius every time that you were able to figure one out. So I think each one of us had just standout moments where it was like, oh my God, I can't believe you figured that out. That was really fun. I really enjoy escape rooms. If you've never gotten a chance to do one, make sure that you take the time to do it, because it will be a very memorable experience. But yeah, that's about as detailed as I can get. It was a very fun week, and I'm very fortunate to hang out with DearChristopher and Chelsea. I'm going to link to both of them. DearChristopher actually has just recently started streaming on Mixer, mixer.com/DearChristopher. Something he's been talking about for a while, so it's really cool to see him do that. Chelsea is a wonderful blogger. She has recently started one up. Everything is Daisy. I will make sure to link to it specifically in the description, because I want to make sure I get that right. So you can go and check her blog out there as well. Very fortunate. Again, they showered me with kindness the entire weekend, and the controller was just cherry on top of how amazing they are. So yeah, that'll be about it. I think I covered pretty much a lot of the stream updates I would have talked about anyway in the first section, so we don't need to go over that again. I guess I'll do my whole ending spiel. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button no matter where you're listening to. Rate it, star it, comment, whatever you got to do. Share it with friends if you think somebody would be entertained by it. All that stuff definitely helps me. If you're entertained by me, you can follow me at TheTapStream on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all those places, doing all the things. I post bite-sized versions of the stream there, so it's a little bit easier to digest, and you can share those with friends as well. TheTapStream.com. You can go and find the podcast there with more descriptions. You can find a link to our Discord in the menu tab. It's open to anybody, and we'd love to have you. And yeah. And of course, finally, as we always like to end it, I want to ask people what's been the highlight of your week. If I had to say it, the highlight of my week is without a doubt the gift controller that Chelsea and Chris made. It meant the world to me, and you'll see it, and you'll see how special it is once you look at the picture. But that'll about do it. Tell me what the highlight of your week is at TheTapStream on any social media platform. Use the hashtag TheTapStreamHighlight, and I will find it. And that will do it this week. Again, thank you all for listening. I really do appreciate it. You're the best. Keep celebrating. I love all your faces. Bye-bye.